Then we could take a look at our agenda. So this is the Polywrap Technical Specifications and Standards meeting. Today we're going to be talking about specifications.
Sorry, Joe, are you sharing the screen?
I mean to. Let me share my screen. All right.
Perfect, thank you.
So looking at the agenda for today, we have other topics. We have some new feature requests. We have the progress update on features, and then probably some time for a working session. So the first topic we want to talk about is discuss the schedule changing and the weekly cadence. So last week we had discussed having our weekly council meeting on Thursdays, and then using Tuesday and Thursday, or I'm sorry, Tuesday and Friday for rotating working sessions for different individuals, like breakout sessions. But yesterday, not a lot of people joined, and we found out that every other week there's a deorg meeting at that time. So we're wondering, is there a better time besides Friday that we should have this meeting, or do we need to keep it on Friday?
No, I think the Thursday is the one that it has a contention in time at
Yeah,
noon
right.
Central. So maybe we can move that to a different day, like Tuesday or Wednesday, or move it to a different time on Thursday.
So, any thoughts on that from the group?
We could do when to meet that goes around and everyone picks a time. But for me personally, just a bit later works fine on Thursday.
I think we'll do a when to meet. I think that's probably best because there's other folks that aren't represented on the call right now.
Yeah.
So I'll do a when to meet.
Yeah, let's do when to meet. And then the other question was, do we can double up on some work sessions. We were trying to go pretty aggressive here and schedule 2 rotating sessions per week. I think Fridays will work great for this, but we're hoping maybe we can allocate Tuesday too, or do we feel like once a week is for the workshop should be sufficient for now? I know, Jordan, you wanted to increase the velocity in this, so that's why I was thinking that 2 workshops regular a week would be better. But I also don't want to overload. I don't want to overload the organization either. So balance here is important.
Yeah, I agree, especially since we're like ramping up for making the release by the end of June. And so maybe cutting it back to, like 1 a week or something. And I think that also we can spread these across individuals. So, like if for me, I just have 1 a week, I can handle that. But maybe, if there also should be a schedule with, let's say, with Yuri or Niraj for a different standard or whatever. So basically just spreading it out across the different developers and trying to have like a spec session once a week might be good.
Yeah. Yeah, and Jordan, we're already doing this, so I don't know if, you probably will notice that we're going to try to double things up based on the folks that are assigned to a particular story. So for example, even today, next hour, we actually have 2 simultaneous workshops. One's on the wrap that's going to involve you, Niraj, and Nestor. And the second one is going to be conducted by Joe with Yuri. Basically at the same time, but on a separate line. So we're going to try to double that up within the same hour. Multiple workshops that with folks that are not assigned to the same story. See what I'm saying?
Yep, yeah, that sounds awesome. Thank you so much for doing that. That's really cool.
This is also something we talked about last time, the sort of soft rule that we should have a minimum of 2 assignees per standard, while a maximum of 3, and that the 3 should be kind of an outlier maybe, so that we can better two things really. Like the minimum serves that we can better have redundancy on the standards, while the maximum enables that we can have parallel workshops going more easily.
Amazing. Yeah, that's exactly right. For the future ones, we're going to try to follow that that pattern 100%. All right, so I think the Friday meeting at this time sounds like it works well for everyone, and we wanted to do Friday the workshop because Fridays, especially going to summer, might be we wanted to have that more flexible for the team, but the Thursday or other day of the week is where we want to move the actual council meeting, so we have better attendance as we're moving into the summer period. All right, I think Joe. So we'll figure out what the timing for the if it's a Thursday or a different time or another day of the week. We'll just use when to meet and finalize that before the next session.
Yep.
I think we're good with that topic, right?
Yep. Yes.
I have one more before we start switching to the features workshop. So we have one story at this point that's ready for final acceptance. And I wanted to discuss with the team as to how do we see the final acceptance takes place. At this point, we've gone through initial feedback and incorporated that. We've gone through a second round of feedback and incorporated that. And at this point, it's ready for final acceptance. The question that I have is, after we post it to the GitHub, how do we want to actually formalize the acceptance process? We do have a couple of options. We can, of course, open this up to the entire DAO and say, here's the standard that's been now provided and fully reviewed internally by the technical council. And do we want the acceptance to be performed at the DAO level? That's obviously the most public level that we have. And do we want to have it formally go through the actual voting process? So that would be the most extreme. And then we can scale down from there, both in terms of visibility. We can make a decision to only allow for final acceptance to be within the context of the technical council and don't open it up to the entire DAO. And then in terms of formality, we can also make a decision whether this is something that needs to have a formal vote or maybe informal vote, or informal vote through a simpler mechanism than actual DAO voting. So those are the questions that I wanted to pose to you guys, and let's have a quick 5 to 10 discussion on this topic.
Yeah, so one quick thought is I think that we could start simple. One way we could do it is start simple and do it kind of the most public is just like an all DAO vote, just like we do everything else. If we really want to kind of make the technical council its own kind of body of voters, we could start to define that. And so, maybe before we go through the final approval of this, we, first do like an all DAO vote on, who is the governing body of the technical council and how is that decided? And how does the voting actually work? So yeah, I think we could go the easy way of an all DAO vote, or we could go kind of the more meticulous way of just deciding like who the governing body of the technical council is that's going to be ratifying these standards.
Yep.
I'm good with either, but maybe starting simpler and then ramping up complexity would be best.
Nestor, what are your thoughts? Any particular preference? And Niraj, maybe you guys have some thoughts too. Would you like to share?
I don't think we hear you, Nestor. Well, I did see the mute.
Yeah, I think at this scale, either is fine because we don't have that many members, and we can also have hold our word. But yeah, when we have more members and we want to ramp things up, we may have governing body of technical council.
Okay, so maybe what I'm hearing is that we can start simple and then we can expand it if it needs to be. So I think that to me implies, when we say simple, then obviously the simpler would be to do an informal vote within the technical console. What we can do also is we can, once we go through the formal acceptance process internally within the technical console, we can post it up to the DAO and say this standard had been ratified by the technical console, and now it's available for everyone's feedback. And then the feedback can be incorporated. So creating the feedback loop to the DAO might be a good option, alternative to actually have the DAO vote and just see if anybody has additional feedback, and then we can collect that and respond to it in the next version. How does that sound to everyone in terms of takeaways? So the key takeaways, and just sum that up again. Internal vote within the technical console. Our technical console, Jordan, is fairly small, I think, a couple of people. So I think that all the technical console members could be considered to be a technical console sort of governing body, if you will. Everybody who's joining these meetings on a regular basis, I think, should be given an opportunity to provide a vote, right? And then in terms of the mechanism for the vote, Joe, you and I can think about something that's simple, but I think that or did you want to maybe use the same platform that we use for downvoting just within that simple group? Maybe I can talk to Kevin about that and see if that can be configured. I don't know. So anyway, we'll think of a different methodology for actually creating a voting process internally. And then we'll try to get the first acceptance prepared for next week then, and get the right tooling in place for this team to do. Does that sound about right to everyone?
Yeah, it sounds right. Can you guys hear me now?
Yeah, we can hear you now.
Okay, cool. Yeah, so I was gonna say that I think that we are like just a handful of people, so that we can reach consensus maybe in an ad hoc manner, and it'd be like much faster, like without much infrastructure, like at least for now, like in the short term. And maybe we could only like develop these more infrastructural processes for the future as we grow. It's what I think, because I'm usually in favor of more infrastructure only when needed, because it tends to slow things down a little bit.
Okay.
So maybe just a thought to put it out there. We could really simplify this, where we have either just a vote between the current sort of members of the technical council, or maybe not even a vote, but see who's opposed to something, and then trying to just reach a soft consensus, and that's about it. I don't think we need anything more complex than this. But let me know, guys, if we do need.
I really like that, and it sounds like very coherent with what I think would end up happening organically.
Excellent. Okay, we'll get this line up for next. One more question. And do you feel like we can do this offline, meaning we can just post in the technical console saying this is available for final acceptance? Click here to review and do the vote, and that can be done offline. It doesn't have to be done during the actual meeting, correct? Or do we feel like this is something? Okay. Okay, I think that covers my. Sorry, any other thoughts, comments on this process? I want to make sure I give everyone an opportunity to speak up. Sounds like I think we have consensus onto the approach. I will write it up, and we will run the acceptance, the sort of our test acceptance for the one of the standards over the period of next week.
Okay.
Okay. Good. So I think back to you, Joe.
Okay.
Thank you so much for everyone's input on this.
Yep. Thanks, everybody. Before we get started in the in progress features, I saw there was some chatting going on about some new features, and I thought it might be good to just, at the minimum, we could discuss these a little bit, uh, but at least set a priority on these, and possibly, I'll set the status here that, they have some sort of description, but I don't know if it's a formal description yet. So I think that it currently still needs, description before it's ready for a draft. The two I'm talking about, the first one is dependencies on manifests. So what do we think that the priority on this is, or is this still in like discussion phase?
Uh, I would say it is high priority. What do you guys think?
Is that having what exactly is this?
Yeah, dependency inside the manifest. So if we want a multi-wrapper project, then if a wrapper has multiple dependency and we want to describe those in the manifest, then yeah, for that.
Okay, so this is just in the main manifest. Do you have a list of dependencies?
Yeah, maybe in main manifest or we have separate dependency manifest, just like we are having.
Okay. Is there two features with this same functionality?
Oh, we do
Can
have
we check?
we do have this
Yeah.
here. Is this the same?
Yep. I think this one was reported by me, the other probably by Niraj. And I think they're mostly referring to the same thing.
Okay.
Yeah, so my only thought on this is that I think that we've come to the conclusion that this sounds like a good idea a couple times. But I want to make sure that we, first off, list the features that will use this. So, for example, when we code generate for plugins or for applications, when we, like Niraj was saying, maybe have multiple modules in a single WebAssembly project. So, um, basically listing out all of the different use cases for this feature and how it would work. I think that that's important to understand like the scope of this. Um, and then to also list out like any of the things in the current toolchain that would change because of this. So and that will basically tell us where the breaking changes are. And if there are a large number of breaking changes and a large number of use cases, then it seems like it would be very high priority.
Yeah, I would say there won't be that much of breaking change, but it will, it will go hand in hand with all the other feature like build, infra, and deploy that is currently going on. So wherever you want to build a multi-wrapper project, then you can define all the dependency in this kind of dependency manifest, and it will do the building and deploying process of this wrapper in the dependency order, so that yeah we don't need to do lots of manual dependency ordering and build and deployment ordering.
Also, in terms of breaking changes, I think this should, at least from my point of view, this is really useful so that you don't need to update schema when you change the URI of the place you're deploying your wrapper to. So it's similar to how, for example, npm does it, or any other package, really, package manager, any other language. So URIs where, for example, ENS or IPFS URIs would be listed by the name in the dependency array in the manifest instead of having them in the schema. And the schema imports would only contain the package name or something. And that would be
Yeah,
a breaking change.
yeah, that would be a breaking change, but yeah, we can discuss whether we want to do it right away or we want to hold off.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay, so I've prioritized it, and I think that it still needs a description, but I got rid of the duplicate here, and we'll just focus on the previous ticket. The other one that's being discussed is should
Can you just, sorry, if you haven't, can you add also Mirage to that? If if I'm the only one, yeah.
Yeah.
If that's good with Mirage, of course.
Yeah.
There we go. And then the other thing that there's been more conversation on, should mutation be allowed inside the query? So I'll just give folks a moment to. Currently, we throw the following error when we import mutation inside a query. So just give everybody a chance to read this. So it sounds like this may not be an issue. May not be.
Yeah, that won't be in future when we remove the concept of query and mutation, but for time being, we may want to remove this check. But yeah, I
Does the
would like to.
workaround, go ahead.
Yeah, I would like to know your opinions.
I think if the workaround works for now, we should do that, and then we can revisit this when we have user-defined modules.
Yeah, so workaround would be just to remove that check and make it work.
I don't see an issue with that, but yeah, if you guys have an opinion on this, please.
Yeah, you can also see my counter arguments why this isn't what we may want.
What I remember, I think in Rust we by default import the query inside of the mutation.
It is the other way around. Like in query, import the mutation. So we aren't currently allowing that.
Yeah, but I think in the I remember when Kobe was working on it that he imported by default the query module into the mutation module, so the other way around actually. So even removing this check wouldn't work for Rust wrappers. But I also remember that I recently brought this up, and I think that was changed maybe. So, Nestor, Jordan, do you remember anything on this?
I'm checking at the moment as we speak to see.
Yeah, Yure, you said query inside mutation, right?
Yeah, that's correct.
Yes, yeah. So that's allowed. So it's also allowed in assembly script. I'm talking about mutation inside the query.
No.
So
I understand, but you can do it both, right? You would have a circular
yeah,
dependency.
you can. Yeah, the mutation. So importing query inside mutation is allowed, but the other way around is not.
Yes, and if we allow that, we just remove the check. And if it happens that in the Rust wrappers, the query is imported by default into the mutation, then if you try to import the mutation into the query, it wouldn't work even if we remove this check. That's what I'm trying to convey.
Ah,
So while this may work for assembly script wrappers, it might not work with Rust wrappers.
yeah, but why are we doing that by default in Rust?
I'm not sure that that's what Nestor is checking, and I think I even talked about this recently, and either Jordan or Nestor, probably Jordan, mentioned that we're no longer doing this or something. But yeah, my memory is fuzzy.
Yeah, I mean, I'm gonna check out that branch again, and while the meeting progresses, I can quickly check on that and report back in five to 10.
Okay, then let's move on for now.
Okay.
Yeah, if this is about importing mutations into query, I think we can remove the check because it's just a simple validation check that we have, and we can just remove that. Yeah, because in the future there will not be this concept of mutation or query.
Do you remember, Jordan? I remember when Kubi was working on this in the Rust wrappers, that query was imported into the mutation, all the time by default, I think.
Oh, okay, got it. Yes. So that is now that concept has been modified to support multiple modules. So instead, what there is there is a common types directory that gets created. And so any of the common types that are used just get put in there, and then they get imported into whatever module is using them. So yeah,
Yeah, I
Right.
remember now.
Yeah, and it is a rather recent thing, I think.
yeah. It got done after the schema bind project got refactored to work with multiple modules.
And this check that we're talking about removing is just for assembly script, or is it for?
Yeah, it actually happens at the schema compose level. So we have some validation checks there, and one of them just makes sure that none of the dependencies of a quick, just like a single validator inside of the schema compose project that we can remove, if I recall correctly.
I think that with the current no more query mutation issue that Caesar and I are working on, like this is all gonna go anyways.
Yep, yeah, and I think that we're just thinking about removing it for right now, just so that it kind of unblocks whatever Niraj is doing.
So I think that sounds good.
So do we need to do like formal design for this, or is it accepted based on the simple description that's here?
Yeah, so in my opinion, we can just kind of remove this kind of feature request because it's really just an artifact of the old way of doing things, and it's going to be replaced. And so we should just create a quick PR in the toolchain to remove this restriction.
I agree,
Yeah,
and it will
definitely
get
second that.
removed anyways, like in the future.
Okay. All right. I think that covers the new features for discussion today. So both of these are one's a duplicate and the other one will be removed. Um,
Yeah, there is the third one.
the manifest file names. I believe we discussed that last week. Was
No,
there?
no. This constraints one.
Oh, I didn't see that one. Where was that discussed? I'm sorry. Can you guys still hear me? Where was the constraints
Yeah,
discussed
Yeah.
at?
Issue 55.
55.
You have a link there.
Yeah.
I can put.
Sorry, I thought it was going to be in the list.
I think it is probably issue 55. Can you see it?
It may still be on the roadmap.
Oh wait, it's client config builder. What?
I think maybe it's not here.
This one here, dependency caching.
No, no.
Oh,
The
that number
issue
is not the issue
55.
number. Yeah, those numbers are
It's just
different.
the serial number. So yeah, you can just go there.
Yeah. Okay, so this has not been yet converted. Okay, so allow users to specify input constraints for the functions in schema. So Jordan and Niraj, it seems like this is primarily a conversation between the two of you.
Yeah. So the idea was like to describe the and describe any input constraint that we have on a, on the input type, and yeah, and place this after type deserialization so that we check the input constraint inside the wrapper before. So for example, we are making a call to HTTP server and we aren't checking any input. uh, then we would be making call first and we will be getting the getting any error after, yeah, after the result comes from the server, and that may be waste of time. So
That's
it would be nice if we can do input validation
what's going on.
first. That was my point here.
You get on your break.
And yeah, the way I have described here may not
Yeah,
work, but
I'm
yeah,
running a
you
meeting.
get the idea of how we can like have constraint or transformer
What's going on?
for
It
the
was a rough
inputs.
day, huh? Hmm.
I think this looks interesting, but I almost feel like it's too early for this. Maybe. Like it's just it's an add-on to the current process. Like I imagine this is something that users could handle themselves in the
Uh huh.
meantime, and then we just add
Mm-hmm.
support for this later on. But it also wouldn't cover all use cases, so users would still need to create their own sometimes, or maybe even often.
Yeah, so yeah, they can create their own if they really want to, but and we may like provide a way to do that and inject that. But yeah, for now, like we can
Right.
provide this kind of simple, simple constraint like regex less than greater than, etc. And yeah, we don't need to do this uh,
Right.
currently. We may, so yeah, when to do that part is also up for debate. Maybe after alpha.
Yeah, definitely after alpha, in my opinion.
But yeah, uh,
Right.
would like to know what do you guys think about
Yeah.
this? Should we add this or not?
What about just generalizing this so that the user can write their own, attached to
Uh huh.
the code generation pipeline?
Hmm. Yeah, that would be interesting. Like if we can provide a way to
You can't.
add some kind of comparator, right? And they can reuse those comparator, and the code generation pipeline
Uh
will
huh.
generate that.
Right.
Yeah, that would be interesting. Maybe we provide some default constraints
Right.
or like yeah, default comparators,
Mm-hmm.
and people can add their own if they want to
Crazy.
customize things.
Yeah, as a first step, we would probably just
Uh huh.
want to add our own
Right.
hard-coded constraints, and then later on have this be extendable, unless it's something that's relatively
Yeah.
easily done. But yeah, in terms of priority, I think this is definitely post-alpha.
Right.
Mhm.
So Martha said you can't ask questions anymore. All right. All right. I think I got to get back to this conversation here. I'm sorry. I'll call you back. Okay. Love you. Bye. All right. All right. So do we want to put this on the roadmap?
Maybe put it as a low or medium priority.
Okay. I'll move that later then. Okay. So when we last met, we were talking about the schema build artifact, the multi-client ecosystem support, and the Polywrap integration testing framework. Has anybody had a chance to work on any of these outside of the call?
Yeah, I have done some work on the integration framework.
Okay. Do you want to share your screen and talk us through those changes?
Yeah,
Or
sure. Need.
okay.
Okay. Mm.
You're gonna you're gonna share your screen, right, Naresh?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
I
Okay.
was finding on
Yeah.
which screen it is.
Got it. Got it.
Lots of tabs and things of.
100 screens open.
Yeah, so initially I have shown you guys this functional, non-functional requirement and potential solution, and then we got feedback that instead of like coupling this with wrapper, it would be nice to have test as its own project, and we decouple it from the wrapper or plugin project and have tests as its own separate project. So yeah, I have incorporated the feedback and then also dig into how the other testing frameworks works, and designed a way to like uh, create a robust testing framework. So here is uh, some yes, some of the classes or like some of the functionalities that I thought of in the for the testing framework. So yeah, first is like test project, just like a plugin Wasm project. We will create its own test project which has manifest, uh, maybe configs, any other manifest files or whatever, and yeah, it will gather every all of that, and uh, keep it uh, keep it available for other modules to use. The second thing is test resolver. So test resolver. So the idea of this is like any so test this test is like we have like recipe and test. So recipes are a test is like a superset of recipes where you can in so yeah in test you can also call recipes, and if you just add output constraints and everything in the recipes, it will be converted into the test. So yeah, the relationship between recipe and test are like that, and you can also call a recipe inside test, and maybe like have output have testing on the output of the recipes. So maybe you will also like host these tests or recipes on the IPFS, and we may want to like fetch those recipes from the URI, and for that we will use URI resolver, and the test resolver will fetches all the tests from different URIs. Some will be in local, some will be on IPFS, HTTP, whatever. So that would be job of test resolver to fetch all the tests. The test context will provide the test context for the given test, like dependency, all the dependency of the test, all the dependency of a particular wrapper that we want to test, and like details on previous test run duration, and yeah, whether that test was failed or passed successfully, etc. And that context will be used by the test sequencer. So this the job of the test sequencer will be sequence the test in a particular order depending on the uh, yeah, depending on the test context. So here, yeah, as you can see here, case yeah, so we are also caching the test run data for better sequencing and scheduling, and we use this kind of order to like prioritize tests that were failed, and yeah, then we prioritize by duration of the test run so that we'll get the uh, yeah, we'll get the output of the test that was failed first, so that we don't need to wait for that. In test scheduler, we'll schedule the test depending on CPU cores, workers, sequencer output, and yeah, whether we want to like schedule it in on separate thread or process, and we'll schedule it. Test runner is yeah, it just run tests in a particular test runtime. So the test runtime is basically a runtime with with our test env, and there can be multiple test runtime that execute the test in parallel. And for that, yeah, we can maybe use build kit or docker cluster to like execute tests in parallel. And yeah, test environment will keep the test environment info, and it will have envs to be passed for the test. And yeah, runtime may also like read and write these envs. For example, if we want to use the output of one test in as an input for the another test, then we may write that to test envs, and this test env will be accessed by the test runtime to yeah, access that env. And the test result will collect the test result and store it in a data structure or data store that will be used by the output engine. And output engine is basically yeah, it basically just out, outputs the result to the file console or network, anywhere you want to output it. And the comparators are the yeah, comparator just compare the output data with the specified constraint. So that's the job of comparator. So these are all the different components that I have thought about having in this framework. And there were also like some ideas here.
I got to work actually. I'm still on this call. Okay.
Yeah, so what do you guys think about this?
Yeah, I'm sorry, babe. Today is a busy one. No, I just stepped away to call you back because I know you're upset. But they're all being
Just off the top of my head, feels like a lot.
okay. Love you.
Is just as a glance, most of the things here make sense, if not everything. But do we need something as elaborate as this for testing?
Yeah, so we will start small. So this is like the this is what and result may look like. We will start small, like we will like remove most of this component like this parallelization and getting test context and everything. We may have like, so yeah, we can start with test project. We can then have like we can only have one kind of test like from the file system. And yeah, we will just have test runner which will run the test and test environment. So we can like trim down a lot of components that we don't currently need, and we'll add it in future as we have more bandwidth to like work on this.
So this tests the wrappers. That does it also test the client and how it calls into the wrappers and maybe some client side code, or is this like an extension to recipes?
Yeah, so it just tests the wrappers, and so not just wrapper but any wrappers or plugins. Yeah, anything that is executable in the inside the client, we can test it here. And yeah, if we want to test on it on multiple client languages, then yeah, that would be out of the scope for this, and that would require uh, the other feature that we are currently working on, that is multi-client support. And like we may need to create a test harness for that. That would that would use this same test description language in which we have write test for this one client, and we will use that uh, same test description for running test on other clients like Python, Rust, JavaScript, etc. So yeah, that's like a step in that direction where we can write a language agnostic test for all the clients.
How much does this improve things over just using Jest for tests? Like, what are the main like use cases? I guess I'm having a hard time getting the context of all of this.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, yes, if we just use Jest, and if you want to like test it for different clients like Rust, Python, etc., then you need to rewrite everything in those clients. All the test you need to rewrite in those clients, and do that. But if we have language agnostic way of like describing this test and running it, then you don't need to like write this on same test descriptions on other languages, and you can just provide this. For example, if it is written in YAML, then provide this YAML file across different clients, different language clients, and it will run this. So yeah, that's the one of the benefit for to make it future proof. And other benefits like it will be very less verbose, and we can do many custom things with this, like many wrapper specific things. And we can basically do everything with Jest, right? But it will be very verbose and user experience.
I I think, but then I think that it would help me a lot more if we had like maybe a rough pseudo idea of how this would look like, because um because like a big testing infrastructure could also have like lots of points of errors.
Yeah, just to build on that point. So I mean, definitely, if we went with this, we would have to take it step by step. So split it off. But creating any kind of elaborate infrastructure, for tests. If, for example, something is not supported that the developer needs, they would have to just abandon this and use Jest or whatever is they couldn't, I guess, in other languages. Uh, so basically, it means that this kind of testing infrastructure would need to be very flexible to cover all of users' use cases, and that's kind of hard to design any kind of system in advance when you don't have dozens of different projects that are for testing. So to be able to see what's the count pattern and create a very flexible architecture. And even then, it can be hard to design something that supports all users, all developers.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I guess maybe starting. So if there's an immediate need, because you have the most experience in needing tests for many different wrappers that compose Mirage, I think then it will be good to create a smaller use case for, or not a smaller use case, a smaller specs for this. So maybe like just a test project, test resolver, like you mentioned, and that solves your immediate needs and provides immediate benefit with the least amount of work necessary, and then we can see how that plays on.
Yeah. So that's the basic idea, and that's how we are going to start. And yeah, so with just like there are many boilerplates and like many things that we need to set up and tear down, and yeah, so and also like it makes everything very verbose, and like we can make the experience a lot smoother of like defining this test file. So yeah, that was like a basic idea with this, like use recipes like uh, yeah, files to like define the test and yeah, execute it.
Yeah, I mean that sounds good. Just to hammer on the point that this is like a product, and it's hard to design a product without having multiple users or consumers and like user stories, I guess. So in an ideal world, I would see different teams that had a need for this immediately and were creating their own kind of testing infrastructure in different languages like in Jest or in different frameworks. Sorry, and then we could see the common thread and create something more elaborate and flexible. So yeah, as a start, we can start smaller.
Mm-hmm.
Did you
Okay.
have anything to add, Nestor?
No, I don't think so. I think I agree with you 100%. Let's take it slow and small and see how it goes, and see how we can tend to current needs and try to provide a flexible experience like throughout. But this is definitely something that we will probably revisit from time to time. Anyways, you know.
Okay, sounds good.
All right. Well, I think this was a very productive session. We do have one more topic on the agenda. So if I could just share for a moment, and we'll use the last couple minutes for that. Let me get this out of the way. Eugene, you wanted to talk about plan the workshop sessions for the following week.
Yeah, so just so just a quick update. We have two workshops that are coming up right after this call in a couple of minutes. So one is for the wrap standard, and the other one for our resolution standard. Joe, do you have the can you pull up the GitHub? We might not have enough time. The project, yeah. So I was just thinking maybe we can schedule a couple of critical ones that's coming up on the standard. Maybe go to roadmap, or I think that's fine. Just scroll down to see some of the critical ones.
Critical invocation.
So I was going to suggest that we pick up the WebAssembly runtime next, and and then we can schedule it for next Friday, and that um, um, involves Jordan and Nestor. So I just wanted to make sure, Jordan, Nestor, next Friday you're going to be available to join the workshop
I
for
will,
this too.
and I think that Jordan will be, based on his last message, I guess.
Okay, so we'll schedule that, and then I'll see if there's any other ones that we can schedule as well.
Okay.
And actually, can you go back for a second there? There was the other one that I think involved Yuri and Rush. Sorry, scroll back up. Configuration motion. No, just looking at. Actually, Yuri, I think we're gonna continue working on URI resolution, so it probably doesn't make sense to plug that one in. Rush, maybe we can pick one for you that you're working on the plugins, maybe the standard for plugins. What do you think? I know it's not critical high, but I'm just looking at what else that we can help with. That. What are your thoughts?
I mean, it makes sense to me. I mean, they're both high, so they're the same priority, and the resolution standard will probably take a while. So you guys can schedule this one with Mirage, and then the week later we can do the configuration.
So for next Friday, maybe we can, Niraj, if you're available next Friday, we can kick off the plugins. And I don't know if there's anybody else that you would like to help you with this. I know that you were said that we're going to try to have at least 2 people on the standard.
Yeah, I think Jordan is super familiar with the new plugins.
Let's do that, Joe. Let's set Jordan.
Isn't Jordan?
And there's going to be a little bit of overlap there, yeah. But
Yeah.
Yeah.
We'll see. Maybe
Chris?
Jordan can spend
I
some.
don't know if anyone else know that much about the plugin.
Maybe
But yeah,
Chris could be a good fit. What do you guys think?
Yeah, but does anyone have the experience of like doing the plugins or like checking the plugins after the new plugins have been written? Because we have like completely different plugin architecture.
Yeah, probably not, but it might be a good time to get more people familiar with that. Yeah, I'm not sure. It would always make sense to have Jordan work on everything, but ideally we could try to decentralize more and get more share experience more.
Yeah.
More redundancies.
Yeah,
But yeah, to make it faster, we would have Jordan.
Yeah, I think to like do that, we need more people to like participating in PR reviews so that other people will also have, other people also know like what's going on and stay up to date with.
That's true.
Yeah. So I think that's like fundamental reason of like our blog, many of our bloggers.
I mean, we integrated the code owners feature, but I think Jordan still is mostly the one that reviews a PR and then merges it. We could expand that to have it be Jordan and at least one other person, just to less for code review, more to get that at least one other person familiar with that feature. That'd be a nice addition, maybe. What do you guys think?
Yeah.
Like, it slowed down the. Sorry.
Yeah, go ahead.
It slowed down the velocity a bit of releasing new features, but it's not like we're being pressed by users or something. So.
Yeah, I think there was like this thing like we need 2 sign-offs to like merge any feature, right? So I think there is also like option as a admin to like merge this, but I think we should practice like to have two PR reviews to merge any feature so that we have double visibility on any new PR that got merged. It can be any person, like one can be Jordan and other core dev who will be seeing who will be reviewing this feature so that he also have experience, he also know like what's going on.
Yeah, so just requiring 2 reviewers and at least one Jordan Yeah, I think that sounds good.
Great. So I think that's bringing to an end our session. So I think, Joe, we can go ahead and stop the recording, and we can just stay on the same line or switch between the member lounge